Just a little bit of information for you. You're at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for Suwannee County. If you would like to make a comment to the board in the public comments and concerns section, there is a request form that's in the foyer. I encourage you to fill that out and be specific as to what you'd like to address the board with. You can bring that to myself or the commissioner of your choice, or Ms. Pennington to my left. And we will begin the meeting. The time is now 6 p.m. We're going to give our attention now to Commissioner Clyde Fleming, who's going to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father and our God, our Maker and our Creator, we come in your name. We thank you for your blessings. Father, we thank you for being so good to us. Father, we thank you for having brought us safe, kept us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. We pray, God, that you bless our nation. Look on our commission today. God, give us strength as we try to conduct county business. We pray that you watch over and protect us. Look on our constituents today. Father, we need you, and we realize that you made us. This we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anxious to get this show on the road. Good to see everyone here this evening. Thank you for being involved in your local government. We're going to start the meeting out, if you notice on your agenda, on item number 1 under approval of meeting minutes, February 10th, 2015, joint workshop with the Suwannee County School Board, the City of Live Oak, and the Board of County Commissioners. Also, the March 3rd regularly scheduled board meeting for the Board of County Commissioners. Gentlemen, are there any changes that you would like to make in these minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Gamble, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving down to our consent items of the agenda, there are, let's see here, 2 through 10. Gentlemen, are there any items that you would like pulled from this list this evening for consideration? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve items number 2 through 10 on the consent agenda.
So motion approved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Or to our constitutional officers items section of the agenda this evening, there are none noted, but if there are any constitutional officers that would like to speak at this time, please come forward to address the board. Seeing none, we'll move on to our proclamations and presentations. There are none, but if there are any board members that have anything that they would like us to consider, we'll hear those now. Hearing none, we have several time-specific items here this evening, gentlemen, but the time is not appropriate for those. So we'll move down to commissioner items. There are none noted on the agenda, but are there any commissioner items that the members of the board would like us to consider this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to the county attorney. Mr. Attorney, do we have anything for us this evening?
No additional items here.
Thank you very much. Moving on to general business, item number 18, discuss with possible board action, possible sale of surplus parcels of land. We'll give our attention now to Mr. Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, you have information in your packet regarding properties that we had discussed in a previous meeting. You have a brief summary of each of the properties. And at this time, I would ask that the board make a determination on whether or not you would like to declare any or all of those properties surplus. And once you've made that determination, then I would just direct you back to the ordinance that speaks to the methods of disposing of the properties. And there are many other things that would need to occur if you decide to surplus the properties and make them available for sale.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I, for one, would love to see us put some of these properties on the market to see if we can dispose of some of them, get them onto the tax rolls if possible. Are there any other comments from the board or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just had a desire that we just go ahead and surplus every one of them.
Okay?
I was pretty much along the same thoughts of that.
Excellent.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree.
Discussion? Okay. All I need is a motion, gentlemen.
Motion approved.
Second.
There's a motion to approve made by Commissioner Fleming, seconded by Commissioner
Can I
Wainwright.
straighten that one out just a moment, please?
Just a second, just a second. There's a motion on the floor. I was going to try to clarify the motion, but apparently the county attorney would like to do that.
Okay, I apologize for interrupting there. For this one, I would like to have, as part of the motion, that it be made that you are declaring it surplus and that you desire them to be sold pursuant to the appropriate procedures in the ordinance.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, in that motion, I'd like to declare that it, what the attorney has said, that it's sold and pursuant to what he has spoken about.
Okay. I guess I'll okay.
Let's clarify, it'd be a motion to declare the parcels 1 through 23 as surplus, and that they be directed to be sold pursuant to county ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Commissioner Wainwright, you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, let's see. Moving back up to item number 19 on the agenda.
Right, some of the property that were on there.
Discuss with possible board action adoption of resolution amending section 4.02 of the personnel rules and regulations regarding health insurance. We'll give our attention again to Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we had a prior discussion related to the issue, the changes with the Affordable Care Act that occurred after you had otherwise most recently amended our rules and regulations regarding some opt-out provisions in the health insurance. Following that discussion, the board directed staff in a motion to bring back the resolution that actually, this is an enabling resolution. It does require establishing an effective date. So you have this resolution before you now that reflects the prior decision of the board
Okay.
related to that change in healthcare.
Are there any comments or questions from the board regarding this? All right, gentlemen, is there a motion?
We need an effective date.
County Attorney has indicated that we need an effective date for this.
To be
April 1st?
Is there a suggestion for the effective date?
April 1st?
I mean, is that time for accounting to take care of getting
That's
that in
fine.
place?
It's fine with me. Yeah, I don't have a preference. April 1 will be just fine.
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the resolution with effective date being April the 1st.
Thank you, Commissioner Wainwright. Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item number 20, discuss with possible board action official name of Catalyst site. Again, Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is an opportunity for board participation or any type of participation you'd like. You can open it up to the public if you wish. I had been discussing with Dr. Jackson a couple of different names. There is a statement that we want to include with the name of the site that speaks to the type of transportation that's available out there, but I did not put that on here for this particular purpose. One name that I had offered to the board for consideration after a little exploring around the county and around the city at the names of some industrial parks, et cetera, that we don't want to come into conflict with in our name. I used Suwannee Regional Industrial Complex. Clearly, it's supposed to provide a regional impact. That was the proposal when it was established in the early conversations as it related to the grants that were being sought from state agencies. By and large, those were all predicated on the regional impact that it offers. But I'm wide open to suggestions. This is your opportunity to come up with a name for this particular property.
Would you state that again, Randy? Would you call it Suwannee Regional?
Suwannee Regional Industrial Complex.
You may want to, if we have another one developed later down the road somewhere else, you may want to say west after that, or,
I hope that
or
we have
keep
to
that
do that.
open,
Yeah.
and we can designate it as west, or, right now it would be the only one, but in the future, we may have to change that.
I would agree,
Right.
and I certainly hope that we find ourselves in a situation where we need to do that. At the very least, I hope that we can expand the boundaries out there and continue to grow that, particularly because of the cost of the infrastructure that we've had to develop and the water plant, and clearly we have plans to expand that. But I believe that we can do that in the future if we need to.
Okay.
I'd like to hear Dr. Jackson's thoughts on it.
We worked together on that, and that was the best. I think it really describes the site.
But it seems like we always use the word industrial park, with all the other ones as well. Is there any other way to describe it, to soften it, or to give it more like maybe a modern feel or something? Because it seems like that's what we've called them for years and years, is industrial parks.
Well, that's why we said the industrial complex, because one, the site is not just the county site; it's expanded. So we felt the industrial complex, and there's a sub, which it would not be a part of the name, but we would call it an intramodal.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking.
You call it
something like
Suwannee Regional Intermodal Complex. I
that.
mean,
Right, yeah.
we all know it's
To
industry.
differentiate it from other
Well,
complexes.
in CSX, I think we had this discussion, has a problem with intermodal.
Right.
And
So it's limited then.
That's what the intermodal is, though. It's,
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wainwright?
Just for thought, I mean, if you're, I'm not one for thinking outside the box too much anyway, but if you get online and you're Googling something or whatever, and you're putting in keywords, I would think that most companies that are going to be looking for industrial sites as they type that in, I think that would, obviously that's going to be an option that comes up, but I think we're still our country is still in that, or the world is still in that mode. I mean, that's going to be a key word that's going to be used to look up, development sites. That's all. So I was okay with the way it was worded. I agree. The industrial kind of, I'd like to see something a little bit more creative.
We keep creating them in Suwannee County, and then.
I do a lot of research sometimes and finding things for the farm, and there's those keywords. I mean, you're typing in those keywords, and it just picks up, multiple sites. And I think that's a word that any company that is, looking to locate their industry, if they're looking for a site and they're researching some, that's going to be a key word that's going to be used, more often than not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess my comments were more or less just to evoke some discussion on it, instead of just saying, okay, that's the label we're going to put on it.
No, I agree.
And I mean, you can always use subtitles as well. You can call it something and say industrial park or industrial complex beneath it, something. It's not. But I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. I'm just trying to make some discussion. That's all. All right, gentlemen, hold on.
You might want to consider calling that Suwannee County, otherwise it will go to describing a location in Dixon County.
Bring it on up here.
That's a site for a lot of things, but I don't think it's industry. other than fishing.
No, my comment was just that you should call it Suwannee County Commerce or whatever you decide part. Otherwise, you're describing Suwannee, which is in Dixie County, the town of Suwannee. I see it all the time, references made to Suwannee this or Suwannee that, and it's a little confusion there to some people.
Good point.
Myself included.
Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
No. Jim Ward from Brantford.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Flynn?
have a tendency to agree with Mr. Ward because we're really identifying ourselves when we say Suwannee County. He's absolutely right. There's a Suwannee down in Dixie County. Sometimes I guess it's used as Suwannee County. I agree along with him that it should be Suwannee County.
Okay. We could call it the Falmouth Industrial Complex over there. District 1, Falmouth Industrial Complex.
Might be a little restrictive.
District 1 complex.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer a motion if there hadn't already one been made.
No, sir, there has not.
Suwannee County Regional Industrial Complex.
Second.
There's a motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to number 20, discuss with possible board action intersection improvements at CR 795 and Winderweedle, and that will be Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I've probably spoken with most of you over at least the last few years, couple of years, regarding the dangers associated with this particular intersection where Winderweedle and Boys Ranch and Nobles Ferry and another little city street come together. A lot of accidents have occurred here. The city, in a meeting that I had with some officials from the city recently, have indicated that they are undertaking improvements to Winderweedle between 129 and Boys Ranch Road, and that will include a sidewalk between the cemetery and the street. When I met with them, I talked to them about on the west end of those improvements next to 795, which is Boys Ranch, shifting to the south a little bit, and the possibility of the county moving the intersection with Nobles Ferry to the north some, so that we could have a nice four-way intersection and a realignment of those two, and then close off that smaller city street that comes in to right next to the old auto parts building there. They agreed, they put some sketches together, and I believe that if we can put our part of the engineering together and just handle Nobles Ferry, and let the city continue to handle Winderweedle on their own, that we could potentially make those improvements and do it very cost effectively if we can put our plans together with theirs and bid that all out as a single project. So if the board has an interest, I know that impacts 2 commission districts. If those 2 commissioners would like to participate in that project, we can move forward and have Preble Rish go ahead and put a task order together. In fact, I think I've got the task order in here. It's $21,650, and I share that with you. It's in your packet, but it may come in less than that. So if the board agrees that we should go ahead and move forward with this, using gas tax revenues to cover the cost of the improvements. If you want to do that and can go ahead and approve the task order, again, that's a top end on the task order. It may come in less than that, depending on which option we should select in the end. There's about 3 alternatives that we have on that alignment.
Okay. Just a second. So basically, at this point in time, all we're doing is approving the preliminary work associated with starting the design and stuff like that on this particular project. Okay. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve that. I want to say something regarding that after that.
Okay. Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded by Commissioner Wainwright. Any further discussion? We'll give our attention to Commissioner Fleming.
I have spoken to Mr. Harris about that area, which it impacts District 1 and District 2. I think it's a good project that would be taken on at this time because of the way the road is structured. And before long, somebody's going to get hurt there. Very dangerous, especially in the morning time, in the afternoons.
There's some high-speed stuff that can go on there. I know that they've been trying to regulate the speed limit there, I think, for safety reasons, but still, people come flying in on that Nobles Ferry Road and also on that Boys Ranch Road.
Right.
So, I agree. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, wait. Clarification. Go ahead.
You're approving nearly $22,000 for an engineering and design study at this time.
It really isn't a study. It is not a study. It's actually the engineering to engineer the improvement.
To engineer the improvement. In other words, this is solely for the purpose of design work.
Well, actually, no. In the task, it includes.
What are we specifically talking about? What is the label you're putting to spending the money on? Task.
Can you identify yourself, please?
It is a task order, and I could read the entire document to you in the task order.
No. Task order. Clarification.
Task order.
Task order. Thank you.
Right.
John Koch, Independent News Services.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Again, like you said earlier, it's going to coincide with the city's engineering of their portion as well.
That is correct. And let me just, for the benefit of the public, let me elaborate, if I can, just a little bit on what this task includes. It includes surveying, geotechnical work, design and permitting, the bid services that our engineers participate in, the construction, engineering, inspection, when that occurs, managing all deliverables, sets of plans, et cetera, and then ensuring all of the exclusions that are required in permitting, wetland delineation, and all of the other things associated with that. So there's quite a bit to it.
Mr. Harris, with these plans, can these be somewhat used again, like say if we wanted to do a joint effort with the city on some other high-traffic areas in the design, if it's relatively flat and stuff like that, or is this specific to this particular traffic area?
This is specific to this project because of the delineation of the specific utilities. There's power poles and lines and other issues that have to be relocated, and the relationship to existing sidewalks and just other traffic management issues.
Okay.
They're really customized in this case. I don't disagree with you, though. There are probably plenty of locations outside the city where we could create a boilerplate type template for an intersection improvement. This just isn't one of those locations that would be conducive to that.
I was in Gainesville the other day and I saw a traffic circle that looked exactly like the one at 5 Points there. It was interesting. Same pavers, same everything. And they were just finishing up the landscaping on it. All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor as the record reflects. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? No. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, could I
Mr. Harris?
inquire? In the packet, we did include that option of commissioners agreeing to the funding participation from the two districts that I had spoken of earlier. Is there a desire to go ahead and address that issue now, or do you want to address that later?
Sure. What Ms. Harris is speaking of is in District 1 and in District 2. Because of the bordering, the joint, or how close it is to that area there, we can utilize funds that were formerly set aside into gas districts that are no longer set aside, but due to that delineation and we can reappropriate those funds as the record reflects with regard to those gas tax funds. And so I would ask the board if someone would make a motion with regard to using funds that were formerly allocated for District 1 and 2 to be used for this particular project.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment.
Commissioner Wainwright?
And going back to the proposal that was originally brought forward by Commissioner Gamble, we did away with district gas taxes, which should have never existed to begin with. And outside of, I think, 2 specific projects that some commissioners had already put in place, all that just went into the pool as it was originally designed, and so we left it then as just a pool of gas tax dollars. And based on the comment that Mr. Harris had originally stated in the presentation of this gas tax funds, that's, other than we just need to make a motion to approve using the use of the gas tax funds, I don't think we need to make it an issue of delineating district monies anymore. I'd rather not go back to that. We bridged that gap with the help of everybody on this commission. I don't want to even venture back into that territory. Let's just make a motion. I'll make a motion,
Okay.
if necessary, that we use gas tax dollars to fund this project.
Excellent. Motion on the floor by Commissioner Wainwright,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion from the board?
Just, Mr. Chairman, if I might briefly,
Mr. Harris?
for the purposes of clarification, because finance will ask this question later.
That's where I was going with it. It's still line item according to district.
That is correct. Everything that I've heard is correct so far,
Yes.
okay? It is correct that we discussed.
On the green bar sheet, it is still delineated that
But it
way.
is delineated by district formerly, as the chairman pointed out. Those funds had been set aside before the board had taken the action, so they're still delineated as such on the green bar. So if that's the wish of the board to treat them now, then those delineations can go away. And those former funds, which are still set aside and not blended with newer, more current revenues coming in, would become a single line item at this time going forward, because there are some projects that have been spoken to when we had this discussion.
That was our desire, I mean, from the very get-go last summer. And I know you had a project that was still on board that you had already initiated.
Yeah,
It seemed like there was one other one, and everybody agreed that was okay. Let's go ahead and do that, but let's pool it all together.
We had 168th and I think 153rd, but we've got the task order in for 168 and was hoping to piggyback off 252's construction. My only question is, with it, on going forward with that project, it won't cause a holdup for it, as far as.
My plan right now is to come to the board in your next meeting to talk about multiple projects. We had a brief conversation about this back at the time of our budgets, if you remember. How we have been blessed with lots of project approvals by DOT, which requires a lot of revenue to front those expenditures until those funds are reimbursed by DOT. So we're going to come in, as Vickers and I have been working on it, we have a spreadsheet put together. We're going to talk to you about the projects and how we want to prioritize those. Some will be prioritized, quite frankly, by the calendar due to necessity because of the expiration on some of those grants. So we'll have that discussion in the next board meeting. But no, my hope is that we can manage all of these without creating an issue for any project.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Wainwright regarding using gas tax funds at this time. Is the wishes of the board to use those altogether to fund this project, or do we want to delineate?
For clarification, I would say that in my motion, I would have that as collectively
Okay,
as one fund.
right. I think there was a second by Commissioner Fleming, that's right. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Ward, is it?
Mr. Ward?
Yes, could we have some clarification also on the use of the gas tax funds. When this first came, as y'all know, it was divided up by district. I understand y'all wanting to change that. I don't have a problem with it. That's what y'all are wanting to do. But it seems to me, I recall, the gas tax money was just supposed to be used to do dirt roads, pave dirt roads. Is that not the case? And could you verbally say that's not the case, if that's not the case?
Well, I think that there's multiple uses for the gas tax money as delineated by the state. And I don't.
Well, the engineering's
necessarily
included in that.
Engineering.
Yes, and I was just thinking that the ordinance or whatever it is that we have here in the county
there's just a-
described its use as just for paving dirt roads. I thought that's what the gas tax were. I could be very easily be mistaken. That's the way I recall it.
Well.
Gas tax monies was supposed to be used for paving dirt roads. That's why it was split up the way it was, the 5th district. It was all by the number of miles of dirt road that you had within the district. So is that not the case anymore?
There was some research done by the attorney. If the attorney is prepared to speak to that, I'll allow him to speak. But, if not, we can bring it back,
It never was supposed to be.
get some information for you and bring it back to you. Are you
Okay.
prepared to speak to it?
I don't believe that the ordinance that we have with regard to that, that says gas tax will be used for dirt. I think the commission expressed a preference, that it be done that way, but there's not anything that I isolate, again, that says that it's just for dirt roads. The state has a myriad of things that you're able to use it for, and there are limitations as well. But nothing specific for it. I think it was just an expressed preference.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion, gentlemen?
Yeah, I guess
Commissioner
before we
Campbell?
move forward with this, I just need some concerns relieved that once this is combined, that the monies that were set aside for District 3 on some road paving projects that we've already got task orders on, that it's still going to be there. It's not going to be looked at as different money. I mean, I don't want it, right now, each one's allotted to be used in each district. And if we combine it together, it's not necessarily just for that district anymore. And I don't want it to be a holdup in moving forward and paving that road.
Well, my comment's already in public record, but I'll state it again. You already had some defined projects. I don't have a problem with going through with what was already on the table. As we were discussing, bringing all that together, so I'm good.
All right, gentlemen, there's a motion and a second on the floor as the record reflects. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on to item number 22, if you're following along on your agenda, consider with possible board action change order with engineering services.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You want to go back to public hearing, 6:30?
Yeah, we could, if you guys want to.
We got people waiting.
Thank you. Time-specific items. 6:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, consider adoption of resolution approving special permit request number SP 150301 by Raymond Cheshire and Shands Live Oak for a hospital/medical facility according to site plan submitted as part of request on property zone agricultural 1. We'll turn our attention now to Ronald Meeks, Planning and Zoning Director.
Okay. We'd like to open this up as a public meeting. If there's anybody that is here this evening that you think that you may have a comment or will be providing testimony, and I'd like to address all of them, all of the various public hearings that are coming up. If you think you'll talk at any of them, would you all stand to be sworn, please? Okay, all right, everybody, including staff, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in the public hearings that will proceed from the rest of the evening will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the first application that the board has for consideration is a special permit request made jointly by Mr. Raymond Cheshire, which is the property owner, and the proposed tenant, which would be Shands of Live Oak. They requested the special permit to put a hospital medical facility in the Welborn area. The property specifically is located in Section 17, Township 3 South, Range 15 East. More specifically, it's the property that has historically been the Suwannee River Log Homes property. Maybe half a year ago or so, Mr. Cheshire had applied for a special exception through our zoning board for an auction yard, which is basically conducted on the warehousing end of the property. What used to be the show home and offices of Suwannee River Log Homes is divided out into multiple offices that are there. Myself and the building official, Patrick Taylor, had met with Mr. Cheshire and representatives from Shands of Live Oak out there at the site. They felt that they could greatly utilize the building and its layout for exam rooms and things like that. They've got several plans for the facility. So what they've done is requested the special permit request. The site plan that's attached shows the layout of the property as well as the location of the existing buildings that are on the property. The entrance would be the main entrance of where the facility is now, which is right off of US 90, and then that turns on to the 10A property, and you have the entrance to the facility right there at that intersection. We had discussed with them some improvements that they are going to be doing to the parking area, as well as providing adequate handicap accessibility. We've already met at the site with the general contractor that is proposing to do the change of occupancy that would be needed in order to meet the needs of a medical facility. So what you have before you is the proposed resolution approving that request. One of the attachments that we have associated with the resolution, we've written the resolution, if you adopt it, with a proposed attachment, that would be attachment number 1, that would be worded so that the special permit will become null and void should the described property be rezoned to a zoning category which allows the proposed use as a permitted principal use. That would alleviate the owner from being confined to the site plan that the board would be given as part of a special permit, so that if the property at a future date is rezoned so that the medical facility becomes an allowable use, they wouldn't be held specifically to the site plan that you approve as part of the special permit, and would be able to expand or add on should need arise. The property owner, Mr. Cheshire, and some representatives from Shands is here to answer any questions that the board may have in regards to the special permit request. And at this time, I will enter the file into the record.
And I'll note that it's a composite Exhibit 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time from the public?
Wendell Snowden, Welborn. I don't want to answer any questions, but what I'd like to do is really commend Raymond Cheshire. When he originally bought this property, it was in foreclosure and collecting very little tax revenue, and now he owns it, and it's paying off for the county. And ever since Raymond has owned the property, he's worked with the community to try to do something with the property. I think the whole thing is 28 acres. And to improve the Welborn community all the way around it. First, he offered it to the community and offered to let us hold the Blueberry Festival there. But we declined to do that because we're already established in the area that we're in now. And so we were putting our heads together. He's been working with community people, and we're trying to come up with ideas of what to put in that property. We were working first with First Federal Bank to try to put a bank branch in there, and they didn't seem to want to do that. And all of a sudden, we made contact with Mr. Huth, CEO of Sheehan's, and he was very receptive to putting a clinic in that facility, and has been working with Raymond and sending some of his staff out to work with Raymond to do that. And what they would call that, it's going to be a clinic, really is what it'll be. And I believe they're going to call it the Wellborn Primary Care Center. And I had talked to James a while back a little bit about the clinic, and we were talking about that a clinic going in there would be a huge asset to the Wellborn Fire Department and the location that they're in, if they, in that area, picked up people that they didn't have to take all the way into Live Oak or Lake City. They could take them right there, right down the street. So I would just like to commend Mr. Cheshire for being an asset to the Wellborn community, and hope that you guys would approve this. And maybe in the future, he's trying to do other things with that property for our community and the county, and possibly that whole property could be zoned. And I don't know a lot about zoning and so forth, but it seems like maybe the whole thing could be zoned as a commercial entity, and get a lot going there, create a lot of jobs, and bring in a lot of tax dollars. So thank you very much for considering that.
Thank you, Mr. Snowden. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this matter? Guess we'll close public hearing on it.
I have a couple of questions, please. Mr. Meeks, in the application that they have a written submission that goes to address each of the individual items that are required for a special permit.
That's correct.
Does staff have a recommendation with regard to each of the findings therein? That, in other words, have they met the specific criteria?
It would appear so, based on the information that was provided from Shands of Live Oak in addressing the issues that relate specifically to their issue. We had discussed with them the signage and permits that would be necessary for that, as well as the parking improvements that would need to be made for the facility.
Okay, are any of those additional items, do you feel like it needs to be required as a condition for the special permit?
No, sir, because most of the things in regards to construction will be addressed at the site plan submittal prior to construction of the review.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Are there any further questions from the board? We'll close public hearing on this matter. What are the wishes of the board with regard to this special permit request?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval and adoption of resolution special permit request number SP 150301.
No, second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Sessions. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, item number 12 is at 6:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold first of two public hearings to consider CPA 15-01, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the text of the comprehensive plan by amending policy 1.2.2 of the future land use element to add a land use category of rural activity center to the rural areas of Suwannee County. Ronald Meeks, Planning and Zoning Director.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this is a amendment to the text of the comprehensive plan that has been proposed. Some time back, we had met Mr. Harris, Mr. Massey, myself, in regards to looking at the possibility of allowing some additional commercial uses within the rural areas of the county. Currently, the regulations permit neighborhood commercial within the rural areas of the county, but the constraints on a neighborhood commercial is very small. There are some uses that are associated with those, but predominantly the ones that have always taken advantage of that is convenience stores. They do provide small commercial needs for rural area neighborhoods. We had been in discussions with individuals who had wanted to maybe provide some commercial uses that are larger than a neighborhood commercial, but maybe not as intensive as a commercial that would be found in a urban development area. So that is where this language for these rural activity centers had came from. We kind of went, as the later amendments will address, some of the historical areas of the county which have been communities, and tried to address providing a commercial need in those areas. The first step of that would be to propose a land use category of rural activity center that would be limited to the rural areas of the county, and we have some criteria on there in the size of those rural activity centers, the floor area ratio for those, as well as the distance that those rural activity centers can be located in proximity to each other. So the language is about a paragraph long. If you have any questions, if you've reviewed any of that, we can address that. But the first process for going before the Planning and Zoning Board for a recommendation for the board happened February 26th. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the text amendment. So what we would be asking for is the approval to transmit this amendment to the Department of Economic Opportunity and the signature required by the chairman for that submittal letter.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Meeks regarding this amendment to the comprehensive plan? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Meeks. We need to open up the floor to any public comments or concerns regarding this matter. Come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Name is Samuel Beasley, address 9420, County Road 417. My concern is if you create a rural or development for businesses, what you need to have some kind of distance from homes to build in that area. It should be so many feet or so many yards away from a home that built there. That way, if it's something that makes a lot of noise, we can still sleep.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Meeks.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Meeks, is that's all considered within the boundaries of the footprint of the building and all that stuff? There's certain.
But what you could do possibly, which would be a later step. This is kind of the first step in that, is creating the land use category. When we get to the level of where we're amending the land development regulations, the text of that for the zoning district, if the board wants to explore buffering requirements for certain uses that may generate noise. A lot of the commercial usage may be retail sales. Some of it may be offices, which are probably not going to create any more noise than a residence would. But if there are any uses that the board sees as a concern at that time, I think we can address that with some buffering requirements or something like that under the land development regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Harris?
If I could. With your text amendment on your comp plan, what typically is envisioned, and particularly with this rural activity center designation, is that the zoning will probably come back to the board for consideration, a zoning change, to change to the appropriate commercial zoning that would then be coupled with this particular land use designation. Because it takes both pieces, both the land use, proper land use designation and the proper zoning in order to go out and construct a commercial entity in the county. So right now we're only dealing with the comprehensive land use plan and map and text in this case, and later it's envisioned that whoever owns these parcels, and in many cases these are going to be smaller parcels anyway, so they'll have to come in and apply for a zoning change. And not only can we amend the land development regulations, but you currently have land development regulations that will address many of those issues as they relate to the zoning classification that these entities would apply for.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, is there any further public comments at this time? If not, we'll close public hearing, and we'll move on to item number 13 at 6:30 p.m. or as soon as thereafter as the matter can be heard. Hold first of two public hearings, CPA 15-02, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use classification from agricultural 1, less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, to rural activity center, McAlpin area. We'll give our attention again to Ronald Meeks, Planning and Zoning Director.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this would be step 2 in the process. If the First Amendment is ultimately adopted back by this board, that will create the land use category. Step 2 is that we have actually went into the map of the county and looked at some of these historical areas and identified some existing properties that are currently being used for some level of commercial activity now, to go ahead and start creating the center focal point of these rural activity centers. The first piece of property that we have identified is about a 4.4 acre parcel that is located right on US 129 in McAlpin. And there is some ambition to possibly place a commercial facility on this specific property. You have adjoining commercial uses now. So this would be the start of that rural activity center land use change for this specific area of McAlpin.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Meek. Okay, at this time, we'll open up public hearing and hear if there are any comments or concerns from the public or that want to address the board on this matter. Seeing none, we'll close public hearing at this time. And are there any comments from the board? No. We'll move on to item number 14 at 6:30 p.m. or as soon as thereafter as the matter can be heard. Hold first of two public hearings. CPA 15-03, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use classification from agricultural 1 less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to rural activity center, O'Brien area. Ronald Meeks, once again.
This is a separate location that we have proposed the same amendment. The same holds true with the previous amendment. The legal description changes. This would be the O'Brien area. Again, we are located right along 129 in O'Brien. The first site actually contains two parcels of property. I think the acreage calculation may be just under 4 acres for both pieces. You have some existing commercial on part of the property now. There's some availability to build additional commercial on this land use, as well as amending the surrounding land use, ultimately by other property owners to expand that rural activity center.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Is there anyone from the, we'll open public hearing at this time on this matter. Is there anyone who would like to make any comments or concerns regarding the O'Brien area comprehensive plan change? Hearing none, we will close public hearing. Is there any comments from the board? All right, we'll move on to item number 15 on your agenda, which is at 6:30 p.m. or as soon as the matter can be heard. Hold first of two public hearings, CPA 15-04, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use classification for agricultural 1, less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to rural activity center, and this is for the Beachville area. Ronald Meeks.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this piece of property here is a unique piece of property. It's a 5-acre parcel located in Beachville. It actually fronts County Road 248, State Road 247, and County Road 49. So it actually has 3 access points to the property currently. So this would be the Beachville area rural activity center, and it's a 5-acre parcel.
Thank you. We'll open up public comments now. Open up this public hearing to hear if there's any comments or concerns from the public regarding the Beachville area rural activity center. Hearing none, we'll close public hearing at this time. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 16 at 6:30 p.m. or as soon as the matter can be heard. Hold the first of two public hearings on CPA 15-05, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use classification from agricultural 1, less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to rural activity center. This is in the Wellborn area. Mr. Meeks?
Mr. Chairman, board members, same type of amendment for the Rural Activity Center. Legal description is changed to this area's focal point is the area just west of Welborn. Currently would encompass part of the property that the Suwannee River Log Homes facility is located at, and this parcel would be the Rural Activity Center for Welborn, and it would be approximately 8 acres, maybe just a shot under 8 acres, but right at 8 acres in size.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. We'll open public hearing on this matter for the Welborn area for the Rural Activity Center. Seeing none, we'll close public hearing at this time. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 17, 6:30 p.m. or as soon as thereafter the matter can be heard. Hold the first of 2 public hearings, CPA 15-06, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use classification from agricultural 1, less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, to rural activity center. This is for the Ellaville and Falmouth area. Ron Meeks, Planning and Zoning Director.
Mr. Chairman, board members, it's the same request for the Rural Activity Center. The legal description on this property will be along US 90. You have the historical area of Falmouth. You do have some environmental concerns there right in the area known as Falmouth, so you're so close to the Falmouth Springs. The old Falmouth store has had some problems with septic drainage and things like that in the past. So a lot of the commercial areas and activities in that area have kind of shifted a little more western to Ellaville. It's actually a little closer probably to Pilgrims. Down that way, you have the entrance to the Suwannee River State Park there. You have some existing commercial activities with the Javier store that's there. You have 2 adjoining lots. They are approximately maybe just under 4 acres in size for that property as well. And that would be the Rural Activity Center for the Falmouth and Ellaville area.
Excellent. This time, we'll open public hearing for the Rural Activity Center located in the Ellaville-Falmouth area of the county. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this matter? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close public hearing at this time. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we're done with this matter until the next meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We anticipate to transmit the documents to the Department of Economic Opportunity with the anticipation of adopting the amendments in June. And once the language for the future land use category becomes effective, we'll be able to adopt the land use amendments for each specific area as a small-scale amendment locally. We'll have them in place at that time.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Meeks.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the humor of the public and the board going through this process. I know it was kind of painful, but we made it. We'll go back down to our general business section here, and we're considering now, if you're following along on your agenda, item number 22, consider with possible board action change order with Arcadis Engineering for services associated with railroad design. We'll give our attention to Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I've provided quite a bit of information to you. In fact, one item that was circulated as you came in was a letter that I received late yesterday from Arcadis regarding this proposed change order. Commissioners, you know that we had, the board had participated in discussions on installation of the water mains from our water plant up to the Klausner facility. You know as well, I think I've traveled out to the water plant location with each of you, and we have a power line that comes in off of 169th and goes back to the west to provide power to the water plant. Those 2 particular items became a subject of conversation with the railroad engineers. The reason for that was that we needed to avoid conflicts on our installations with the railroad tracks. So I communicated with our railroad engineer, which is Arcadis, told them what our plans were, and that they needed to communicate to us any possible conflicts so that we could remedy those at the front end prior to our installation. One specific item that we needed was a location as you take that track from the CSX main line and turn north As you know, we'll travel all the way up the western boundary of the Klausner site. At some point, there will be a turnout to the west. That's in preparation for future development. But we needed to know where that turnout would intersect with the water main so that the required steel sleeve could be installed to protect the water main. And only the railroad engineer could tell us where that radius crossed over the water main, so they had to prepare that information for us. They needed survey work provided to them, and the county paid for the survey work and supplied that. Similarly, with the power coming in on the south end of the property near our water plant, it comes across an easement. We'll cross over the railroad track in that area, but there was a pole that needed to be installed, and we needed to know that that pole wouldn't be placed where it would interfere with the radius coming in off the CSX main line. So Arcadis worked on that information as well, provided responses to us. Later, much later, I received a proposal on a change order, which is now before you for consideration. They've provided this with some explanation. I don't mind telling you that I have disagreed with them on the proposed change order. And for the most part, it's because there was already a provision for participating in the discussions as they relate to utilities and potential conflicts with the tracks. In fact, it was budgeted into our agreement with Arcadis, the agreement that the board approved, I think it was early last year. So there was already a provision in that contract. There was a $9,040 allowance for identifying potential conflicts with utilities and even showing them on the plans. The proposed change order that they sent me for the work that they provided was $10,239.63. My recommendation is that we reject the proposed change order. It's my opinion that that was already provided for, that work was already provided for in the original agreement. Now, this dollar amount exceeds the amount in the original agreement. So, in my opinion, we should reject the proposed change order, and if they want to come back and discuss an overage, then I'll bring that back to you. But in my opinion, there isn't an overage. So that's my recommendation on this. I've also spoken to the county attorney about this and shared the documents with him. He can speak for himself, but at this point, I think it would be reasonable to suggest that he agrees with me on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to reject the change order.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Gamble. Is there any further discussion?
I was just going to make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wainwright?
I know for my part, Mr. Harris and I think at the time he had shared with me that he had met with several of the other commissioners, if not all, and I think I was very well aware of the issues at hand as far as our utility issues and the railroad. So there's no doubt in my mind that this bridge was crossed a long time ago.
No, it was. I was actually at the meeting with him at the catalyst site when we met with the engineers. The day we were trying to get an idea of where the poles were coming in and where it was going to cross.
Thank you, Commissioners. There's a motion and a second on the floor. As the record reflects, or any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 24 on our agenda, oh, wait a minute, excuse me. Let's see, item number 23, discuss Florida Department of Transportation solicitation for lists of roads associated with grant. We'll give our attention once again to Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'll make it brief. This is that time of year that DOT is soliciting our lists of roads to be proposed for grant funding. If you will inform myself or anyone else in our office of roads that you think you'd like to see placed on that list. As you know, I typically try to ride those roads with Mr. Green, get his feedback prior to submission so that we don't waste an opportunity. If he believes there's a road that just isn't going to make the cut, then we can eliminate that one and add something else. So if you will just provide us with any roads that you want to see submitted, we'll be glad to compile those and get them to DOT.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Moving on to item number 24, additional agenda items. I'm going to call for additional agenda items, gentlemen. I have 4 this evening. Are there any others? Under the additional agenda item sections, the 4 that I have are item number 1, rejection of bids for reconstruction of Voyle Street, bid number 2014-07, and authorized rebid of same. Number 2 is approval of settlement agreement in case number 2015-1, liability claim covered by insurance. Number 3, authorization to purchase used vehicles and equipment from the Sarasota County surplus sale. It's a budgeted item. Number 4 is the use of the $5,000 balance of the amount of the $25,000 that we allocated to use for the gym floor repair at the Douglas Center. And we are going to reallocate those funds to the gym office and foyer if the board so wishes. Moving back up to additional agenda item number 1, rejection of bids for reconstruction of Voyle Street, bid number 2014-07, and authorized rebid of the same. We'll give our attention to Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as you know, you've approved changes in the agreements, changes from the original agreement that we had with DOT, who is funding this project. They've enlarged the limits on the project and increased the funding. We had already gone to bid based on the original funding they were providing. They ultimately agreed with us that that project needed to extend right on out to US 90, and they've provided those changes, which the board has considered. So now I'm asking that you reject the original bids, and that we will now then, upon your authorization, go back out to the entire new project.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris. What are the wishes of the board?
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 2 on the additional agenda items section is approval of settlement agreement in case number 2015-1, liability claim covered by insurance. We'll give our attention to Randy Harris.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, from time to time we have these types of cases that the attorneys provided through our insurance takes to some type of settlement. In this particular case, it was mediation. The parties agreed on a settlement. The insurance is going to pay this, and they simply need for you to agree that they can go ahead and settle the case.
What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Commissioner Sessions. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 3, under the additional agenda items section, authorization to purchase used vehicles and equipment from the Sarasota County surplus sale. These would be budgeted items. We're going to give our attention to Greg Scott, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, gentlemen. We received a list today of the equipment that Sarasota is getting rid of. Just as a formality, we usually come through this process. Public Works, maintenance, other folks have done this in the past. We have money budgeted. We like to go down and look at the equipment, but the deadline in submitting what we'd like to have is the end of this month. We won't have another meeting before then. Also, there may be some other departments.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I spoke to you about this earlier, but because of the short timeline associated with this, I was going to ask that we go ahead and extend the same opportunity for budgeted items that are in your budget already adopted for the Building Maintenance Department and Public Works as well. Sarasota has been very good to Suwannee County through the years. They always work with us real well on acquisition of their surplus equipment, usually trucks, pickup trucks, more than anything else. And this is another opportunity. So I'd ask that if the board authorizes this, that you include those other departments as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Thank you, Mr. Scott. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Do I hear a second?
Wait, can we back up just a
Wait,
moment, please? Thank you.
There was a second made by Commissioner Gamble. Is there any further discussion? Give our attention to the county attorney.
Thank you, sir. All right. Because what we have been presented did include, just the item for Parks and Recreation, I'd like again for the motion to clarify that we also address the other departments.
I'd like for the motion to also address the other departments.
That would include building maintenance and public works.
Correct.
Is that correct? Is that okay with
Correct.
you?
That's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Gamble?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Item number 4 is a reallocation of funds. Gentlemen, you will recall that we had allocated some funding from the returned money from the Sheriff's Department to be used for the gym floor at the Douglas Center. That came in under budget. There was approximately $5,000 left over from that, and what we're asking here is, or Commissioner Fleming is asking, is that we reallocate the $5,000 balance to the gym office and foyer area of the gym. And maybe, Mr. Fleming, did you want to speak to this at all?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's just what it said. Those funds that was left over, we just want to take those funds and use them for the office and the front foyer, that gymnasium.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Harris, did you have some comments?
Just, if I could, for clarification, if the board makes a motion to authorize this, I would simply ask that it be more general, that the authorization be to use the balance of those funds, because it isn't going to be exactly $5,000.
I understand.
That is an approximate number.
Okay. All right. I need a motion that reflects the discussion that we had here this evening.
I make a motion that we use the balance of the funds to improve the Douglas Center.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sessions, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Wainwright?
No, that's fine, Mr. Chairman, go right ahead.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right.
Mr. Chairman. could I-
Yes, sir. Mr. Harris?
I need to ask a question.
Sure.
I was supposed to request that we pull item number 3 and bring that item back in the next meeting.
Well, hold on just a second. Let's back the train up.
I just realized that I had a note at the bottom of my agenda, but I didn't catch it when it was approved with the consent agenda. So I would request that the board reconsider item number 3.
Okay.
And
Well, gentlemen, I guess what we need to do is, do we need to roll back the entire consent agenda, or you just want to just move it number 3?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make a motion that we not approve item number 3
As previously approved on the consent
as
agenda?
previously approved on the consent agenda item.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wainwright. There's a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman,
Mr. Attorney.
I might. What I would like to do then is have a technical thing to go back and undo all of 2 through 10.
That was my
And-
question.
Yes, sir. I'd like to undo all of 2 through 10, and then procedurally then to present a different motion then, which would exclude item 3.
So for clarity's sake, we don't have to make a motion to repeal the consent agenda, or we do have to do that?
You do have to, you vote to reconsider the motion that was made on item 2 through 10.
Okay.
Mr.
And-
Chairman, I apologize for my haste, and I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Wainwright.
Thank you.
So then, at that point, then we would reconsider items 2, and then 4 through 10.
Correct.
All right.
So I need a motion for reconsideration of the original motion of 2 through 10.
Okay, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we reconsider consent agenda items 2 through 10.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Wainwright. Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, going back up to consent agenda, gentlemen, as if it didn't happen, What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 2 and 4 through 10.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wainwright, seconded by Commissioner Gamble. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, wasn't that fun? Let's go back down here. To public concerns and comments. Item number 25 on your agenda, I have two public concerns and comments, and they were specific as to what they wanted to address. So I'll start first with the one I received first, which was Mrs. Sharon Higgins. She wants to address the public comment section on the agenda. Mrs. Higgins?
Sharon Higgins, Suwannee Ranchettes. There was a discussion at the last meeting about the public comment section on the agenda and possibly changing our ability to speak during this time period. After thinking about it, on the way home, you all ask us to elect you. We pay you to be our representatives on this commission. And those of us that do take our time to prepare and attend these meetings expect to be recognized and listened to when we do want to make a comment, and especially before a vote is taken. And tonight that has happened, and I do appreciate that. Your decisions affect us in many ways, and we have the right to be concerned about the outcome of these decisions. One thing that concerns me greatly is the amount of money our county takes from grant money, state and federal, and other funds such as DOT money. I know we have to, but I think we always need to recognize where that money comes from. And bottom line is it either comes from the taxpayers' pockets, or in the case of some of the federal money, it's coming from future generations' taxpayers' pockets. So please remember and recognize this every time you talk about applying for money from one source or another. And also remember that those of us who attend these meetings and occasionally get up to speak, we do have the county's best interest at heart. We just want the best possible decisions made for all the county residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Higgins. The next request from the public for public comments is from Mr. Robert Ford, and he would like to address the board regarding the Douglas Center. Mr. Ford?
Connect to the internet. Good evening. My name is Robert Ford, and I'm from District 1. I live at 135th Loop, and I'm represented by Commissioner Bashar, our commission president. Looked like my computer just went haywire here when I was trying to bring up some notes, so please bear with me. Again, to the commission chair, Mr. Bashar, commissioners, Mr. Harris, our circuit administrator. I want to say happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. It is represented by my green shirt that I have on, but it's further represented by, the Douglas High School alumni. Our school colors was green and gold. On behalf of the Douglas High School Alumni Association and the community at large, we would like to publicly commend our Sheriff, Tony Cameron. Sheriff Cameron has been one of our largest and premier benefactors. And without Sheriff Cameron's support through the years, I don't think it would be an overstatement to say that the Douglas Center probably would not exist such as it is. We also like to recognize that Sheriff Cameron could not have supported us as generously as he had without the support of you, our Board of County Commissioners. I'm also aware that of the things that are going on at the Douglas Center today. On March the 3rd, the commission approved a task order for drawings for a new restroom facility to be constructed on the grounds at the Douglas Center. And as it was mentioned earlier, the resurfacing of the gym floor is being conducted at the Douglas Center Gymnasium. And as discussed on the number 4 of the consent, on the additional agenda items this evening, you approved additional $5,000 to be used at the Douglas Center. In the last week, I have sent 2 letters to Mr. Harris, our administrator, on behalf of the Douglas High School Alumni and Historical Association. The first letter was to board up all the open windows and doors to prevent any further vandalism and weather damage to the properties at the Douglas Center. I cited a law enforcement theory called broken windows. The theory basically states that vandalism and other petty crimes breed additional crimes and antisocial behavior. And if these small crimes are prevented, the opposite happens. It prevent further crimes and prevent more serious crimes from happening. By the time my letter hit Mr. Harris's office, the Douglas Center cafeteria windows was being boarded up, and that is a real good start. My second letter went to Mr. Harris just yesterday. I requested that the Douglas High Alumni Association be allowed to use some of the space and rooms at the Douglas Center to be used as our administrative center and to preserve some of the historical materials that is related to the Douglas Center. And I do understand that change comes very slow and the process sometimes doesn't happen overnight. I attend a lot of these commission meetings, and at times the debate can be astonishingly ugly. And it's my desire that not to be enthralled in one of these ugly debates and scenes at the commission meetings. My wife, Susan, she's sitting back there. We've been married almost 45 years, and we have reared 2 children. They are now in their 40s. And we had to learn early on to be, if we are to be successful at rearing children, we will have to create an environment of expectation. Now, like I said, my children are in the 40s, and my wife, she really has a strict way of enforcing expectations that today it would probably be a open DCF file on some of the things that she would do to enforce her expectations. But, you know, I don't want to stand here in the spirit of condemnation and point out what the community is expected. I know lots of time the community has been sort of slow in raising some expectations from what they expect about the Douglas Center. And at times the county has been sort of slow in some of the small maintenance items that goes on at the Douglas Center. But personally, every time I have sent something to Mr. Harris' office, he has always jumped right on it and tried to honor my request. The Douglas Center is county property. It is the same as the courthouse, the Coliseum, this building that we are meeting in this evening, and the list goes on. For too long, there's not been any expectations of maintenance as it relates to the Douglas Center. I will say this: there are far too many small preventive maintenance items that goes unattended to at the Douglas Center, from the fences falling down around the ball fields to security lights that's not being repaired or replaced. Being respectful to the time that is allotted to public comment, I will end with the following 2 items. Last year, the Commission gave approval to submit for a $350,000 Bureau of Historical Preservation grant to refurbish the Douglas Center cafeteria. I was disappointed when that grant was not funded. It is my hope when the window for applying for this grant or any other grants opens again that we could get support from the Commission to apply for those grants, and that our grant application process can be enhanced. Lastly, I understand that there are some earmarked funds that has been set aside for the Douglas Center. These funds, I believe, came from an insurance payout from a fire that happened at the Douglas Center some time ago, and another gift from our Sheriff Cameron, for a total of about $100,000. We have heard that there are some discussions to use these funds for the demolition of the unusable portions of the Douglas Center campus. The Douglas High School Alumni and Historic Association requests all of these funds go towards a phased refurbishment of the Douglas Center cafeteria. I want to thank you for the time and your consideration. And I'd just like to end with a comment from our Suwannee Democrat staff writer that's here tonight, Amber Van. She's writing an article about the Douglas Center that will be coming out in a few days. So be sure and get your copies of that article. I'm quite sure that it will be a superb article. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. You've given us food for thought, and I'm sure that at a future date we can discuss what you request with regard to the allocation of funding at a future meeting. All right. Moving on to the Administrator's Comments and Information section, item number 26 on your agenda. Randy Harris, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I don't have any other comments right now.
Can't believe it. Item number 27, board members, let's move on quickly.
I was going to say, don't pause.
Don't pause. Item number 27, board members' inquiries and requests. I have a few, but I'll open it up to the floor if anybody else has any.
I'll go ahead and start, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wainwright.
Yesterday I had the privilege of running out to the Douglas Center and meeting with a young man there that is just absolutely has taken on a task, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Lord has his hand on that man, and it's Antoine. He came before this board and was asking for some use of the facility out there, and I'll tell you what, he's just, I was really impressed in visiting with Antoine out there. As was discussed by Mr. Ford, there's a lot of potential out there, and when we took on that property, when I first came on the board, 6 years ago, almost going on 7 now, I remember having a conversation with Greg Scott that even back then that there was a lot of potential out there for that property, and that's I hope that we can see some changes come about. Mr. Ford, my folks as disciplinarians used, they always called it encouragement. That way it left any issues with DCF out of the equation. I was just encouraging my child. Another thing I'd like to say is just I want a measure of thought and appreciation. Jimmy Massey, he sits over in a little corner office at Public Works, and he's quiet and he's just working away there. Mr. Harris had enough foresight to, I don't know how he did it, but he encouraged Mr. Massey to come work for Suwannee County and bring a wealth of experience and knowledge with him. And I might add creativity. And those talents are combining to make some changes that are helping some small businesses grow in this community. And that is a welcome sight. Thank you, Mr. Massey. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Wainwright. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Fleming?
I will voice the sentiment of Commissioner Wainwright. I applaud the efforts of the Douglas High Alumni Association for a job well done and hard work in all efforts. And too, with Ms. Van, on last week, she did a very good article. I think she said it come out somewhere about the 1st of April, if not before. But, I do visit that Douglas Center quite often. And on yesterday, I was very pleased with meeting one of the commissioners. We didn't meet, but just happened to go out there. And I told Commissioner Wainwright that I was glad that he was out there, and Mr. Harris. And again, I asked that the other commissioners go out and take a look at that facility. Mr. Harris made a statement in a joint meeting that we had. We could have something. All we have to do is just polish what we have. That Douglas Center, and I hate to just keep beating on that, but harping on that, but we have a facility out there that just needed just a little polishing. We polish what we have. We have a great facility for everybody. And with all the efforts of all the individuals, and I'm looking across the people, the constituents out here, I see a lot of my constituents in District 2. I'm glad to see you here tonight for your participation and your concerns about county government, and especially the Douglas Center. And in order to get things done, that's what we have to do. Our desire as a board don't allow that Douglas Center to be put on the back burner any longer. We look for continuance, trying to do whatever we can do, and with your efforts and our efforts, we can get things accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleming. Mr. Sessions, you have anything?
It's all about the kids. We have to do things that will make a better community for the children coming up and give them a better example. And on that note, there's a land judging tomorrow. It'll start at 11 o'clock at the baseball fields there behind the middle school, and then they're going to move out to some property northeast of town to do some land judging. It'll be kids from Duval County, Columbia County, Suwannee County, a bunch of surrounding counties. Probably 80 or 90 kids out there. And once again, it's for the kids, so helping them out.
Excellent. Excellent. Commissioner Gamble?
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. Well, I got a couple of things. I've called, well, let me back up. I guess there are some issues with some potholes around the Walmart, the southern Walmart entrance there. And I was just wondering if the board had any interest in doing a major repair there, because it seems like they just keep opening it up. So, you know, we continue to patch it, but I think that we may need to address that whole section of road there or something like that. And I don't know if that's something that we need to present before the board at the next meeting or something like that, because it just, those potholes, they just keep opening up. I just thought it might be something.
Put it on the agenda if you want.
Well, we got to get some costs and stuff like that for it, you know, because it just seems like there's so much traffic in and out of there. It might be something that I'm sure that the other commissioners have gotten calls on it. I wanted to commend, well, not really commend, but just to say that the cleanliness of the Pepper site off of 51 has improved dramatically since the gates have gone up. I don't know how many commissioners use that site, but if you've been in there, the difference is night and day. And I just want to say that it has not, the expansion of the hours is working great. It has not inhibited my ability to get rid of my garbage. It's the site that I use, and it's just made a world of difference in there. And so I just wanted to report that to the board. If there was any doubt about the gating it at all times, I mean, it's just tremendously better. And I hope that we can do some more of that in the future. I'm encouraged that we're joining with the city with the traffic circles, and I hope we can do some more of that in the future. I'm happy that the board approved the expenditure of funds for that. So I just wanted to show my appreciation to the board. And I also wanted to make a report to the board that the Suwannee Valley Transit Board has appointed Commissioner Sessions as the interim administrator over there. He's graciously going to serve at no cost to SVTA until we can seat another administrator over there, and I think he'll do a fine job over there. So we just wanted to make the board aware of that. I had a comical call the other day. A guy called in and he says, because you guys took care of the cats at the Dowling Park dump site. He said, but what are you going to do about the squirrels now? He said, I threw my garbage in one of those things, and he goes, 4 squirrels jumped out, and he said, about gave me a heart attack. And he says, so you got rid of the cats, now what are you going to do about the squirrels? I said, the squirrel man is in other parts of the county today, but I'll be sure to get him over there tomorrow. So I thought that was funny call I got, so I thought I'd share that with you this evening. Anyways, I only need one thing, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Commissioner Fleming?
Before we close, I apologize. Mr. Massey's name was mentioned, but I don't think many people know Mr. Massey. He's in the corner. Would you stand, Mr. Massey? There he is. Commissioner Wainwright mentioned Mr. Massey, but I don't think many people know who Mr. Massey is.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
He likes seclusion.
That's how he rolls, under the radar.
That's right, man. Don't hear nothing from him. All right, gentlemen, I need one thing.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Fleming,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Sessions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Everyone drive safe. Sheriffs.